She thought it was just another late-night Uber ride, but when she glanced at her phone, the app still said, "Waiting for driver." That's when her stomach dropped. The doors were already locked. The man behind the wheel just smiled and kept driving deeper and deeper into the woods. No houses, no headlights, no way out. What she didn't know was that she wasn't the first one to step into his car, and she might never be seen again. She was late again, the kind of late that turned the city quiet when the office lights had gone dark and the last trains had already rattled away. Claire stood on the curb outside the half-empty parking lot, clutching her phone with frozen fingers. Midnight air in March bit through her thin jacket. She hated these nights, hated how the city felt like it belonged to someone else after hours. She opened the Uber app and tapped request ride. The spinning circle showed looking for drivers. She glanced around, just a couple of flickering street lamps, no cars parked nearby. Then headlights cut across the road. A black sedan slowed, easing to the curb right in front of her. Relief washed over her. That was fast. The driver leaned across the passenger seat, window cracked open just an inch. "Claire." His voice was steady, a little flat, but not unfriendly. She nodded quickly, tugging the car door open and sliding inside. The heater hummed, warm against her cold hands. "Thanks," she murmured, buckling her seatbelt. "I've been out here forever." The man didn't reply right away, just pulled into the road. His hands gripped the wheel tightly, knuckles pale in the glow of the dashboard. His face was shadowed except for the occasional flash from passing streetlights. Mid-40s, maybe, salt and pepper hair, clean-shaven. Average. Too average, Claire thought. She glanced at her phone to check the route. The app still spun. Waiting for driver, that was weird. She hit refresh. Same thing. The ride hadn't connected. Maybe a glitch. Sorry, she said softly. "You were with Uber, right?" The man smiled without turning his head. Of course. Something about the way he said it made her throat tighten. She tried to laugh it off. "Just making sure. Smart girl," he said. Her stomach flipped. She tried to casually angle her screen, hitting the home button to light it up. No confirmation screen, no car profile. Just the same message, waiting. Her actual driver's name was David. His car was supposed to be a silver Toyota. This was neither. Claire's heart thudded against her ribs. She gripped her purse a little tighter in her lap, thumb brushing her phone like a talisman. The man turned down a side street. No traffic, no storefronts, just long stretches of dark houses. "Where are we headed again?" he asked. She froze. Midtown." "You should have it in the app." He chuckled under his breath, low and sharp. "Right, Midtown." He didn't look at her. His eyes stayed pinned to the road, face unreadable. Claire's brain screamed at her to get out. She could feel every nerve firing, every instinct clawing up her throat. But the locks clicked down when she had shut the door. There were no child locks in the back seat, right? She shifted slightly, testing the handle with her elbow. Nothing. He must have locked it from the front. Her phone buzzed suddenly in her hand, nearly making her scream. A text from Uber. "Your driver David has arrived. Look for a silver Toyota." Her mouth went dry. This wasn't David. This wasn't her ride. She typed as fast as her shaking fingers allowed. "I got in the wrong car." But before she could hit send, the driver's voice cut the silence. "No phones in the car." He said it calmly, almost politely. But his tone left no room for argument. She froze, thumb hovering above the screen. "I said," he added, still not looking at her. "No phones." Slowly, Claire lowered her hand, screen face down against her thigh. Sweat slicked her palms, even though the heater was blasting. He took another turn. "You must write a lot," he said conversationally, like they were old friends. "Late nights, all alone." She forced a small laugh, her voice cracking. Yeah, it's convenient. He finally glanced at her, just for a second. His smile was too wide, his eyes too flat. Convenience can be dangerous. She looked out the window, heart hammering. The city lights had fallen away behind them. Just 2 lanes of black asphalt cutting into dark woods. She thought about jumping, about yanking the handle and throwing herself onto the road at 60 miles an hour. Her skin prickled with the thought of skidding across pavement, bones breaking, but at least she'd be away from him. He hummed softly, some tuneless melody that made the silence worse. The hum vibrated in her chest like a warning. Claire's throat closed. She thought of her sister's laugh, her mother's face, her dog waiting at her apartment. She thought of the text she hadn't sent. The car slowed suddenly. Her heart leapt, maybe a stop sign, maybe traffic, maybe a chance. But no, they weren't at an intersection. He was pulling off the road, gravel crunching under the tires as the woods loomed around them. The car rolled to a stop in the middle of nowhere. No lights, no houses, no witnesses. The man killed the engine. The sudden silence rang in her ears like a scream. Claire gripped the door handle again, panic shoving reason aside. She yanked hard. This time it clicked. It opened. Her heart soared until she felt his hand clamp around her wrist, cold and crushing. "You don't want to do that," he said softly, almost kindly. And then he smiled again. Her first instinct was to scream, but her throat locked up. His grip was iron, pressing the bones of her wrist together until she thought they might snap. "Let me go." She gasped, jerking back, but his fingers only dug deeper. "Relax," he said, voice calm, almost soothing. "We're just talking." Her pulse pounded so loud she could hear nothing else. She twisted, nails digging into his skin. His smile didn't falter, but he squeezed harder, forcing her back into the seat. "See," he whispered. "That's better." With his free hand, he reached into the glove compartment. A sickening click echoed in the silence as he pulled out a small folding knife, its blade catching the moonlight. Claire's lungs collapsed. She thought of bolting again, of throwing herself from the car and taking her chances on the gravel road. But his hand on her wrist made it clear he slid her open before she even got 1 foot outside. Her eyes darted around, desperate. The woods pressed in on all sides, the road empty behind and ahead. No headlights, no salvation. The knife glinted as he set it casually on the console, like it was nothing more than a conversation piece. "You shouldn't get in cars with strangers," he said, almost chuckling. I thought it was my driver," Claire stammered, her voice high and broken. "Sure you did." His eyes locked on hers, unblinking. "That's what they all say. Her stomach churned. She wanted to vomit. How many had there been before her? He let go of her wrist suddenly, and she nearly cried out from the rush of blood flooding back into her hand. She cradled it, shaking. "Don't worry," he said, leaning back in his seat. "I'm not in a hurry. We've got all night." Her mind raced, scrambling for escape routes, weapons, anything. She thought of the phone in her lap, her last tether to the outside world. He'd told her no phones, but maybe if she could hide it, send a text without him noticing. She shifted slightly, angling the screen low, thumb brushing the emergency call button. "Don't," he said, voice sharp now. Her head snapped up. His eyes glittered in the darkness, catching what little light seeped from the dashboard. Hands where I can see them. Slowly, she raised her trembling hands. "That's better," he murmured. He started the car again, tires crunching on gravel as he pulled back onto the road. The knife stayed where it was, gleaming on the console, a silent threat between them. Minutes bled together. The dark woods stretched endlessly, swallowing everything. Claire's head buzzed with panic, her body screaming to run, even though she couldn't. Finally, he broke the silence. "You remind me of someone," he said thoughtfully. She swallowed hard. "Who? My daughter?" For a moment, hope sparked in her chest. Maybe he wasn't a monster. Maybe there was still a shred of humanity in him she could reach. But then he smiled again, slow and cold. She screamed just like you. The words shattered her. Her vision blurred as tears welled. She couldn't stop the sob that clawed up her throat. He chuckled softly, eyes never leaving the road. Don't cry. It doesn't help. The highway lights were long gone. Just back roads now, winding deeper into nowhere. She knew if he got her off the main road, if he took her somewhere hidden, she'd never come back. Her hand drifted toward her purse. Pepper spray. She always carried it tucked in the side pocket. If she could grab it. Don't, he said again, voice flat. Her hand froze. I told you, no surprises. His gaze flicked toward her, eyes dead, smile thin. You're smarter than most. That'll make it harder. Harder, her chest caved. She had one choice left, act before he did, the knife. It was right there on the console, inches from her thigh. Her fingers twitched. Could she grab it before he noticed? Before he crushed her wrist again? Her breathing quickened. The hum of the tires on the asphalt was deafening. Her muscles tensed, every nerve screaming move. The next curve in the road tilted them slightly, and in that moment she lunged. Her hand shot out, fingers closing around the knife handle. But his hand was faster. Still fingers clamped her wrist, slamming it down against the console. Pain shot up her arm, white hot. She screamed. His face was inches from hers now, twisted with rage. You stupid little bitch. She thrashed, nails raking across his cheek, drawing blood. He hissed, yanking the knife from her hand and pressing the blade against her throat. The car swerved wildly, tires squealing, but he didn't care. Try that again, he snarled, and I'll paint this car red with you. Her entire body trembled, the blade's cold edge biting her skin. She froze, tears streaming down her cheeks. For the first time since she'd gotten in, she realized she might not survive this. He leaned back suddenly, knife still poised. His cheek bled in a thin line where her nails had caught him, but his smile had returned, twisted and calm. You've got fight, he said softly. I like that. The car straightened out, racing deeper into the dark. Claire sat rigid, throat burning where the blade had kissed her skin, heart pounding so loud she thought it might burst. Every second that passed, she knew this was the longest night of her life. And maybe the last. The road narrowed, trees leaning closer on both sides like a tunnel of black claws. The headlights carved thin beams into the dark, revealing nothing but endless asphalt. Claire's throat still stung where the blade had touched her. She didn't dare move, didn't dare breathe too loud. Her mind screamed for a plan. She needed something, anything, before he decided to finish it. He hummed again, low and tuneless, tapping the knife lightly against the steering wheel. The sound made her skin crawl. You ever wonder, he asked suddenly, his voice casual, how many people vanish every year? Her stomach dropped. Thousands, he continued before she could answer. Some found, most not. Just gone, swallowed up. Everyone assumes accidents, bad luck, running away. He smiled faintly, his eyes never leaving the road. But sometimes it's not that complicated. Sometimes it's just opportunity. Claire's hands shook in her lap. She thought of her phone again, still in reach. Maybe if she could hit 911 and keep it hidden, just one ping, one location marker, anything. The car hit a bump. Her phone slipped from her thigh, clattering onto the floorboard. Her heart stopped. The man glanced down, then at her. Slowly, he reached over, plucked it up, and turned it over in his palm. Locked, he said with a smirk. Smart, but not smart enough. He slid it into his coat pocket. The last tether was gone. Claire's chest heaved. Please, she whispered, voice breaking. You don't have to do this. His eyes flicked toward her, expression unreadable. Don't I? The car slowed as the road curved sharply left. Ahead, a gravel turnoff led into dense woods, a narrow path that swallowed the headlights. He guided the car onto it. No, Claire burst out, panic exploding in her chest. Please take me back. I won't tell anyone, I swear. He slammed the brakes, tires spitting gravel. The sudden stop jerked her forward against the seatbelt. He turned to her, face shadowed but eyes glinting with something unholy. You think this is about getting caught? He asked softly. You think this is about you at all? Her breath hitched. You're just next. The words carved into her like a knife. The car crawled forward again, deeper into the woods. The trees closed in, branches scraping the roof like fingers. No signs, no houses, no way out. Claire's chest ached. She thought of her family again, their faces flashing before her eyes. She couldn't let it end like this, not in some nameless forest, forgotten. She scanned the car, desperate. Seatbelt, knife, keys, gear shift, anything. Her eyes fell on the dashboard. A little plastic crucifix dangled from the rearview mirror. The incongruity of it struck her religion hanging in a car of death. He noticed her staring. His grin widened. My wife put that there before she left. Claire's voice trembled. Why are you doing this? For the first time, his expression faltered. Something ugly flickered in his eyes. They leave. They always leave. They think they're better, smarter, safer. He gripped the wheel so tight his knuckles blanched, but they're not. They're weak. All of them. His breathing quickened, ragged, like the words themselves pulled something dark from inside him. Claire's heart raced, rage, obsession. Maybe she could use it. Your wife, she left you? She asked carefully. His jaw tightened. She took my daughter. His voice broke on the word. Then softer, I keep her close. Closer than they ever knew. A cold shiver ran through Claire's spine. She wanted to ask what that meant, but she was terrified of the answer. The path narrowed, branches whipping the car. He slowed to a crawl, headlights cutting short against a wall of trees. At the end of the path sat a rusted metal gate, chained but hanging loose. Behind it, in the shadows, something loomed, an old shack, roof sagging, windows black and empty. Her heart collapsed. This was it. He stopped the car just before the gate, killed the engine. Silence crushed the air. He turned to her slowly, the knife gleaming in his hand. His smile returned, soft and deliberate. Out, he said. She froze. He leaned closer, blade hovering inches from her cheek. Get out. Her hands trembled violently as she fumbled with the buckle, the seatbelt snapping free. The cold night air slammed into her as she opened the door. Gravel crunched under her shoes. The woods were suffocatingly silent. No crickets, no wind, just her breath, ragged and sharp. He stepped out behind her, shutting the door with a heavy thud. The knife dangled loosely from his fingers like a toy. Walk, he said. She moved forward on shaking legs, the gravel cutting through her thin solace. Every step toward the shack felt like walking into her own grave. Behind her, his footsteps were steady, confident, patient. She glanced around frantically. Trees, shadows, no escape. But then, just beyond the shack, something caught her eye, an old shed, its wooden door barely hanging from rusted hinges. A sliver of moonlight revealed a gap at the bottom, small, narrow, maybe just big enough to crawl through. Her pulse spiked. She forced herself forward, closer to the shack, heart slamming in her chest. The knife's whisper followed her, slicing the night with every step. When he gestured her toward the shack door, she knew she had seconds. She bolted. Her feet tore across the gravel, launching her toward the shed. His shout ripped through the night, furious, guttural. The crunch of his boots thundered behind her. Claire dove, scraping her arms as she slid into the gap under the shed door. Splinters tore her skin, dust and rot filling her lungs. She dragged herself inside just as his hand slammed against the wood. The shed reeked of mold and rust. Broken tools littered the floor. She scrambled into the shadows, pressing herself against the far corner, heart screaming in her ears. Outside, his footsteps circled. His laugh was low and steady, crawling through the cracks. "You can't hide forever," he sang softly. The blade scraped along the shed wall, slow and deliberate, metal against wood. She clamped a hand over her mouth, tears streaming, and then silence. Too much silence. Her stomach turned cold. He wasn't laughing anymore. He was waiting. The silence was worse than the laughter. Claire crouched in the darkness of the shed, chest heaving, every creak of the rotting wood magnified in her ears. Her knees ached from the crawl, her arms stung with splinters, but she didn't dare move. Outside, nothing. No footsteps, no humming, no gravel crunching. Just the faint rustle of leaves in the trees. He was out there. She knew it, waiting. She pressed her ear to the wall, straining to hear. A twig snapped sharp, deliberate, too close. She bit down on her knuckle to smother a sob. The blade scraped again, this time across the shed's door. Slow, rhythmic. He was dragging it up and down the wood like a key across a prison bar. "You think you're safe in there?" His voice was soft, sing-song, too calm. "But you're just a little mouse in a box." Her stomach churned. He was toying with her. She scanned the shed in the dark. Rusted tools, broken planks, coils of rope. A rustic garden spade leaned against the wall. She grabbed it, clutching the splintered handle so hard her knuckles burned. The scraping stopped. "Good," he whispered through the cracks, voice low and knowing. "Pick it up. Makes it fun." Her breath caught. How could he know? The door rattled violently, hinges screaming. She flinched, pressing back against the wall, spade shaking in her grip. The door held for now. He laughed again, low and guttural, then it faded into footsteps. Crunch, crunch, moving away or pretending to. Claire's whole body trembled. She couldn't stay. He'd come back, force his way in, drag her out. She had to move before he set the trap tighter. Her eyes darted to the back of the shed. A narrow slit of broken boards, moonlight seeping through. Barely wide enough, but maybe. She crawled toward it, shoving tools aside, wood groaning under her weight. She pushed at the boards. One snapped loose with a crack that echoed like a gunshot. She froze, silence outside. Then the crunch of boots running now. Panic seized her chest. She shoved harder, splinters digging deep into her palms until blood slicked the wood. The boards gave way, tearing open just enough. She wriggled through, the spade scraping beside her. Her jacket snagged on a nail she yanked free, fabric ripping, pain burning across her shoulder. Behind her, the shed door exploded inward with a deafening crack. She hit the dirt outside, scrambling to her feet. His shadow filled the broken doorway, knife flashing in the moonlight. Claire ran. Branches whipped her face, roots clawed at her ankles, but she didn't stop. Her lungs burned, heart screaming, every instinct forcing her forward. Behind her, his boots pounded the earth, closer, closer. "Run!" he bellowed, voice booming through the trees. "Run faster." She burst into a small clearing, moonlight spilling silver across the grass. Her eyes darted wildly fence, rested and half-collapsed, just ahead. Beyond it, the faint glimmer of a road. Hope surged like fire. She sprinted, legs screaming, tears blinding her. The fence loomed closer. She hurled herself at it, clawing up the rusted wire. Metal tore at her skin, ripping her hands open. His hand grabbed her ankle, yanking hard. She shrieked, kicking wildly. Her shoe slipped off in his grip, sending him stumbling. She heaved herself over the top, tumbling down the other side. Gravel cut her palms as she hit the road. Headlights. A truck barreled around the bend, horn blaring as the driver slammed the brakes. Claire stumbled into the lane, waving her arms frantically. The truck screeched to a halt, missing her by feet. The driver, a bearded man in his 50s, threw open the door. Jesus Christ, are you okay? She collapsed against the grill, sobbing, words spilling out. Help, he's trying to kill me. The driver's eyes widened. He grabbed for his phone. Get in the truck. Behind her, the man emerged from the tree line, knife glinting, face twisted with rage. The driver cursed, rushing forward. Hey, get the hell away from her. For the first time, the man faltered. His smile vanished. He stared at the truck, the driver, the phone in his hand. For a heartbeat, the woods were silent. Then he turned, slipping back into the trees without a word. Claire sobbed harder, collapsing against the truck's step. The driver wrapped an arm around her, pulling her up. It's okay, you're safe, I've got you, we'll call the cops. But as the headlights swept the woods, just before the shadows swallowed him whole, she saw it, the man standing still just at the tree line, watching and smiling. They found the shack the next day, police swarming the woods. Inside, traces of blood, women's shoes, torn clothing, a nightmare graveyard, but the man? Gone. Claire never took another ride after dark, never stood alone on a curb waiting for headlights, because she knew he was still out there somewhere, and maybe one night he'd pull up again.